Where was I? Oh, yes. Dave, burst out of the puppet pile like you're the one. Dave, be the other guy. You are now the other guy. John, take dowels and sheets from bed and make a tent. This is so much fun. A huge waste of time, yes, but so much fun. John, carve a totem. Fuck. John, carve a totem of the punched pogo card. You put the punched card containing the pogo ride in the slot and carve a totem from one of the crux-eyed dowels. John, repeat the process with other cards and dowels. You use the card containing the code for the hammer, as well as the one with the random code you punched over the shaving cream card for the hell of it. You carve the respective totems for the cards. John, do the same thing with the captcha log card. You make a totem for a captcha log card. Pretty bare bones looking totem if you ask you. Rose, collect the totems. You stow the totems in your athenium. Rose, produce captcha log card. Okay, so the pogo ride costs grist and shale. The hammer only costs grist. This new thing costs more shale and grist, and the captcha log card seems to be producible with one of anything. The alchemitor requires 1 unit of any type of grist to produce 1 card. You decide to use shale, since it seems generally less useful than build grist, for now. You make a whole bunch of them. Whoa, did you just make all these? Yes. Sweet, thanks. What did you do with all those blue wobbly vase-looking things? I brought the totems out to the alchemitor to test them. I'm taking some things into my own hands to save time. Okay. You create a hammer at the expense of 2 units of build grist. You make a pogo ride, -5 build, -1 shale. You use the totem carved with the random code. You create a rocket pack with some random crap stuck inside it. Looks like there's a cinder block, a violin, and a flower pot. The items have rendered the device completely inoperable. You figure you might as well put this piece of junk to good use, though. John, collect cards. Using a little strategy, you first you grab Harry Anderson's Wise Guy by Mike Cavini, then the cards, then you eject your PDA, then the book, again to flush the cards into your deck. Nice going. John, turn on Detect Collisions. You flip your fetch modi, but find no such option. This is idiotic. John, read book, be the wise guy. Fuck yeah, I've been waiting so long to read this. Harry Anderson, Wise Guy, from the street to the screen. An introduction. Who's this wise guy? Blood loss and the Big Easy. New Orleans, 1977. The close-up room at the Magic Castle was this mean little box that tended to fill up with so much smoke you'd swear someone was cremating a wet dog in there. In walks Anderson. There isn't much that gets liquor to pause its journey from the table to my lips, but I'll be the bastard love child of a listless octoroon. If that kid wasn't the cat that swallowed the canary in a dapper little hat. It looked like he was testing the tensile strength of his suspenders to the damn near limit with a pair of cocky thumbs. I wasn't impressed. But I was a fool. Somehow in my motion for another beverage, he'd already slipped into polite conversation at a table held down by some notoriously brusque regulars. He had them in no time flat. They were melting butter in his glass ramekins. Whatever tidy yarn he'd spun to win them over, I didn't catch a word of it. One of them laughed. I was angry. Envious? Maybe a little. Yeah, you bet I was. Anderson had one of those little wooden finger choppers that Mickey Hades used to sell. The kind where the blade could be removed and clearly shown. It was a very convincing little guillotine that did not look like a novelty store toy. Harry would get a guy to examine the chopper and then cut a cigarette in half. Then he held the guy's hand up and told this silly story. The story, of course, was artifice, a distraction for the guy in the audience while he worked his stuff with the chopper. Or it would become that once his famous chopper trick was perfected, vaulting him into fame, fortune, and the crowning position in the television judiciary. With what became his signature aplomb, Anderson was in moments a font of breast pocket gauze, profuse apology, and redoubling the determination. It's really amazing how hard it is to find a bloody sausage-sized piece of a guy on the floor of a room that dark and smoky. Impossible, I think we all proved. Just as impossible as blind Willie Buttermilk Stubbs was going to find it to work his trumpet tomorrow night without his twiddling fingers. You never really understood what Cavani's relation to Anderson was, or why he wrote this book about him. His ambivalent attitude towards your favorite magician and these anecdotes always struck you as a little weird, and to be honest, you tend not to read much of the text in the books. You mostly look at the diagrams for all the cool tricks. Here's a perfect example of how Harry could, the A-hole in the ace, aka the A-hole trick. Here's the perfect example of how Harry could ruin several decks of cards, waste everyone's valuable time, and have you love him for it. He was good at that. One day, he noisily emptied his suit jacket pocket onto the hood of his car in search of change for the meter. A clunky metal thing slid from the pile and bounced on the sidewalk. As I retrieved it for him, I asked him what he was doing with a hole puncher in his pocket. His face lit up at the question like he was an elf, and I asked him how he felt about climbing onto the hollow of a big tree to bake some cookies or something. The 2-foot, 6-inch height differential between us caused these comparisons to enter my mind. A small crowd had already gathered around even before he produced the first pack of unmolested cards. How people seem to gather and how they even know a street performance is about to take place, I'll never know. It's perhaps Anderson's greatest trick, luring the marks in like that. I wanted to ask if he was sure about this, performing in broad daylight. He was used to working in dark rooms. It was usually the first thing out of his mouth when he would queer a trick. I'm really more accustomed to working in a darker room than this. But Harry was excited, and he'd already butchered the first deck of cards with the hole puncher, and issued the first round of apologies to the crowd. These were like the primer apologies, the sort that got the folks loosened up a bit before the 7-course meal of ingratiation that would inevitably follow. He asked me for a fresh deck of cards, and I gave him one. The principle behind the trick in theory, as he explained it to me later, was to punch holes in what appeared to be one card, but was in fact 2 or more. Hence the difficulty he often had in squeezing the puncher with little elfish hands. Then, using some coy maneuvers with his thumb, temporarily concealing the hole while he slid the card beneath it with his palm. The hole would seem to disappear, or move to another part of the card. Oh yeah, that's right, the old hole in the ace trick. Interestingly enough, pertaining to punching holes in cards and making them disappear and stuff. Your hands were never really strong enough to make this one work all that well either, but it kind of gives you an idea. You overlap 2 of the punched cards. They mask each other's hole patterns. John, put both cards in totem lathe. You carve another totem using the new combined hole pattern. John, take it to the alchemister. Oh man, looks like Rose made a million hammers for some reason. Get all this shit out of the way. You're about to make something sweet. You got the pogo hammer. John, practice with the new weapon. What did you do? I combined the cards in the lathe thingy and made this. It's so sweet, man. Look at me go. I see. That was a really good idea, John. Nice work. Thanks. I got the idea from Harry Anderson. Who? You know, the show Night Court? No. Oh, well, the bottom line is he's awesome. That's really all there is to say on the matter. John, attack the nearest imp to test Pogo Hammer's strength. You get a vicious rhythmic bouncing combo going and easily slay the imp in one blow. You and the Pogo Ride are catapulted sky high in the process. Bonk. Sweet catch. Oh no. Oh no. Rose, pester John. Hey, that was a pretty, nice, sweet catch. Save. Oh, yeah, that. This is pretty comfy. Why don't you just, carry the bed around with me on it? Up to the gate up there. I can't interact with you directly, or anything that you're touching, if it will result in moving you. See? Oh, lame. The game probably regards that as a kind of cheating. In a way, thieving you of your free will as an adventurer, and the need to advance by your own skill and ingenuity. The server player is just a facilitator. Well, okay. All that scurrying around kind of wore me out. I think I'm gonna rest here for a bit. Rose, can you keep the imps at bay? Drop some stuff on them if they sneak too close? No, you should pick up your hammer and defend yourself. What? Come on. I have no idea what the hell Dave was up to, or if he's any closer to recovering the game. There's some stuff I'd like to try, in case he doesn't come, though. Oh, alright. I'm just gonna rest my eyes here, though. Just for a second. John, sleep. Rose, check the alchemy excursus. Looks like a sort of index documenting all the known results for punch card alchemy combinations. This should be a convenient resource as you start to stumble on more useful card combinations. But ever since John started punching cards, you've been contemplating other ways this item manufacturing system could be put to use. In particular, if you obtain the code for any item at your disposal, you think you could theoretically send the code to John and he could make it himself. That is, if you can think of anything that'd be worth sending to him. Rose, capture-log the Spurb server CD. You eject the disk and capture-log the server CD. Message John the captcha code. Oh, god damn it. It appears the flames have gotten too frisky for the generator. Hold on, why would that turn the computer off? Is it just that bad at charging? Facepalm ×2 combo. John, wake up. Hey! Whoa, there you are. How's your adventure going, John? It's okay, I'm making some progress, and Rose finally connected again, so she's helping me now. That's good. Oh, but I don't think I'm actually saving the world here. I don't know what I'm really accomplishing, but I guess it's not that. Well, I think whatever it is must be pretty important. Don't lose hope, John. I think it will all turn out for the best if you stay positive. Just keep listening to your grandmother's advice. Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't think I mentioned Nana to you, did I? Oh, I don't know. Didn't you? I don't know. Maybe you talked to Rose or Dave about it or something? Yeah, maybe that was it. They're really weird when they talk to me about you. They are always trying to convince me you have some spooky powers, but I'm always like, no, she seems like a pretty regular girl to me. But then, when I think back, maybe there are times when it seems like you know some things. Maybe you know about a thing, more about a thing than you're telling me? I don't know. Oh, well, John, I want to explain a lot of things to you. Some things that I know. I'm just waiting. Waiting for what? Oh, John, I forgot. I was messaging you about the meteor that fell near my house. Oh, yeah, whatever happened with that? Oh boy, well, it turns out I was confused about it. Really confused. See, I guess I fell asleep for a while and lost track of time. That happens. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Maybe you should, wear an alarm clock or something? So what's the deal with the meteor? Well, it's hard to explain, but I know what it is now. And now I know everything's going to be okay. So what is it? Or is this just another thing you're waiting to tell me? Gosh, John, I really want to tell you about all this stuff, but I can't yet. I think you need to wake up first. Huh? Well, not literally. Okay, maybe kind of literally. Stop being so confusing. Lol. Anyway, time for you to go, John. I think you have some company. It appears time has been completely destroyed. John, quickly grab the pogo hammer. You stick the pogo hammer back in your striped precipice and get ready to kill some more of these pesky little... Huh? What's that? Rose, why aren't you dropping something on that thing? Oh no. John, be the imp. You be the imp and quickly abscond the fuck out of there. This is what weaker adversaries do whenever things get too hot to handle, which is almost always. John, prepare for a boss battle. You stop being the imp because that was stupid and scurry over to your magic chest that you suddenly remembered was on the roof. There are some things in here that'd be good to stock up on for a major battle, but it looks like somebody plundered your chest already. This is so outrageous. You are being ambushed. There isn't much room to maneuver on this sloping roof. Maybe you should consider making your way to higher ground. John, ascend to the highest point of the house. You go up here. John, look down. You peek over the edge. It already seems like a long way down to your yard, not even to speak of whatever's below. Hey, weren't your trick handcuffs dangling from that branch earlier? Damn it, why do imps gotta be making off with all your sweet gear? John, turn around. Crude ogre. You're confronted with a pair of enormous foes. This is it. You have no choice but to wage a fierce rooftop battle. This is totally going to happen now, and could in no way conceivably be interrupted by a sudden shift in our attention. It's go time. It's time to do this thing. We're doing it, man. We're making this happen. Dave, stop being the other guy. You stop being the other guy. You're not even sure what that means anyway. Dave, ascend to the highest point of the building. Psych. Oh, wait. 2 times double psych out combo. Hello. You are now the wayward vagabond. WV. Retrieve. Got him already. Wayward vagabond. Examine rotten pumpkin. What pumpkin? Wayward vagabond. Check the little red bar. It appears to be a gauge for a large power cell, perhaps fueled by some type of nuclear reaction. If this is the case, it's relatively low on fuel, but who knows how long it's been running here. You do not care about this sort of nonsense, and you will disregard it at once. You are very hungry. Wayward vagabond. Capsulog can of gravy. Capsulog? You have no idea what that means. It's a total nonsense, and you do not know what to make of it. You will not give the foolish notion a second thought. Wayward vagabond. Pick up the can of gravy. Just pick it up. You pick it up. You're now holding the can of gravy. Wayward vagabond. Use sharp teeth to poke a hole in the lid of the can. Your teeth are useless for such a task. They're blunt like that of livestock, presumably suitable for mashing up plant matter, but not for puncturing metal. Wayward vagabond. Attempt to open can with weak, pathetic digits. Your weak, pathetic digits are not strong enough to penetrate the can. Your fingers are certainly pointy enough, and your black carapace is suitably rigid, but you just don't have enough muscle for the task. Wayward vagabond. Take the can labeled beans. Okay, you take that too. Wayward vagabond. Examine a can of custard. The can clearly reads mustard, a fact of which you are perfectly well aware. It's sort of cumbersome holding all these cans at once. You doubt you can hold many more of this. Maybe 1 or 2? You'll need to find something to put stuff in if you want to carry a lot of things around. Wayward vagabond. Examine the marking on your wrist. You drop all the cans and look at your wrist immediately. It's a sort of specialized barcode pattern. This brings back unpleasant memories, and you'd prefer not to dwell on them. Wayward vagabond. Examine the small potted plant. What plant? Wayward vagabond. Check book on human etiquette. It appears half the pages of this book have been eaten. The daunting volume is considerably lighter than it once was. You're somewhat skeptical about the nutritional value contained by these pages. However, of the practical wisdom they contain, there can be little doubt. You've learned so much. Wayward vagabond. Clear out all the cans inside the purple machine. You empty the peculiar cabinet and take a quick inventory of your canned goods. You have beans, mustard, gravy, bread, shrimp, asparagus, cheese, rice, corn, peas, flour, chestnuts, mayo, ham, potatoes, and squash. Such bountiful plenty, and yet the delights taunt you for within their small metal prisons. Wayward vagabond. Search room for can opener. You already looked all over the place for a can opener, even making a few electric inquiries about one, to no avail. Nothing else inside the purple thing either. Wayward vagabond. Locate a sharp object nearby. You wield your trusty knife. It's actually I'm not sure what they're called. It's an old rusted one of those red mailbox arm swing flappy doodads, either for letting you know there is mail in the box, or perhaps for alerting the mailman to outgoing mail to be collected. You don't know, really. You wrapped a little piece of cloth around it for grip. It's useless for opening cans. This wayward vagabond, be the imp. This means nothing to you. You are not an imp. You have no idea what an imp is, and you will not entertain such frivolous and childish ideas ever again. You feel stupid and hate yourself a little for even considering it. Wayward vagabond, become the mayor of Cantown. As the glorious founder and mayor of Cantown, you erect a dignified, majestic city hall out of cans, fittingly capped off with a tome of good manners for the roof. You have given yourself a very official and important-looking mayoral sash made out of old cables to complete your look of authority. A number of rather civic-minded citizen cans gather in front of the building to offer adulation to their fair and magnanimous leader. All is well. You immerse yourself in this beautiful dream as you whittle away the minutes, or perhaps hours. You love the idea of being a mayor, you love everything about mayors, and the concept of an orderly civil democracy. It all seems so mannerly and reasonable to you. Everyone is friendly and happy, and the city runs like clockwork. The foundation of the government is based on mutual respect between the leader and its people. It's also built on having a really great mayor that everyone loves, who is totally amazing and heroic and brave. Mayors are so much better than kings. You hate kings, and you think kings are really stupid. They're petty, bossy tyrants, and are really full of themselves, and are basically awful in every way. God, do you hate kings! Wayward vagabond, explore the west of Cantown. Over here is the other side of the room. There's another one of those purple storage boxes and some useless objects scattered on the floor. Wayward vagabond, use the glowing green rock to open cans. You pick up the nugget of uranium and— oh, that was stupid. Why would you do that? Wayward vagabond, examine box of crayons. It's chalk numbnuts. Inside the box, there are 12 pieces of chalk in every color of 10 pieces of chalk in most colors of the rainbow. You are very excited by this. Wayward vagabond, try to open the storage box. It's locked. There must be some sort of release mechanism for this thing. Wayward vagabond, examine contents of yellow container. The container is full of motor oil. This does not seem useful to you right now. Wayward vagabond, rescue that poor lightning bug. There's nothing you can do for this new little friend. Attempting to crush the amber encasing the firefly would likely cause it harm. It nevertheless bravely flashes on. You find its light alluring, inspiring. To you, it seems as if it could quite easily serve as the light of democracy. Wayward vagabond, use the chalk to draw some roads. You sketch a handsome network of sprawling thoroughfares for your citizens to traverse. The adoring population applauds its mayor's keen instincts for city planning. You even add some lush vegetation to your city with a piece of blue chalk, because you can't seem to find a more suitable color for some reason. Wait, did he eat green? Yes, he ate green. Thanks, buddy. Lay a chalk foundation for Cantown's civic growth. You develop westward, settling those fertile plains and claiming them for your city. You section off a number of residential and commercial zones for civic growth, arranged in the only logical pattern that occurs to you. You color the residential zones with your piece of white chalk, but for some reason none of the colors in the box strike you as suitable for commercial zones. Perhaps there is an alternative. Wayward vagabond, use your own pee for the commercial zones. You cannot urinate because you have not had anything to drink in quite some time. You are very, very thirsty. Also, this is a really terrible idea, and you would never consider befouling your wonderful city in that way for even a moment. Wayward vagabond, use motor oil to designate commercial zones. You fill each empty square with a bit of motor oil to complete the zoning. It looks rather striking to you. You can hardly imagine that an up-and-coming young can trying to make its way in the world would not be delighted to live in your fair district. You're very careful not to get any of the unpleasant fluid on your person. Wayward vagabond, peel label from can of mayo and affix it to sash. Wayward vagabond, survey surroundings in search of more terrain for city. It seems you've run out of territory for your western expansion, but there's still a lot of empty wall space. Perhaps your citizens would be happier with a colorful backdrop that make them feel more at home. Using most of your imagination and an entire piece of sky blue chalk, you render a bright and cheerful sky full of clouds. You've decided that very closely orbiting your city is a luminous planet, about which orbits a single moon. You switch to another sheet of blue and continue rendering on the western wall. Orbiting much further from your city are 4 planets. None of these have satellites, you have decided. Yes, that makes sense, you think. I wonder if these look familiar to you. One of them, at the very least. Perhaps a land of wind and shade? But what's this? Technicolor landscape. And what's this? A gear with fire within? And just a big erupting volcano. And on the southern wall, beyond an impenetrable veil of darkness, occupying the furthest orbit yet, there is an ominous planet. This one has a moon too. Wayward Vagabond, check that rampaging boy on the screen. Oh yeah, it's that guy. You'd almost forgotten about him and his confusing shenanigans. It seems like he has things well in hand at the moment. He does not appear to need your help, and you've already concluded that he cannot help you, at least for the time being. Wayward Vagabond, turn on the other 3 screens. You have no idea how to turn those on! There's no mouse for this weird quadra-monitored computer. It can only be operated through text commands from its keyboard. Perhaps there is a special key or command which will allow you to switch to another monitor. Wayward Vagabond, press Tab. Wayward Vagabond consumes several cans. You free the heavenly brown elixir from the jewels of pink carapace and imbibe like the wind. It is so sweet and sugary, you wonder how so much sugar can fit in one can. Whatever mighty wizard concocted this potion is truly deserving of your fear and respect. Wayward Vagabond, welcome to the rest of the city. The Tabs are naturalized as loyal new citizens of Can Town. All cans are welcome and equal in your city, regardless of canned content, and whether empty or full. It's not like emptying a can kills it or something. They're just cans after all. Wayward Vagabond, hit escape. Feeling refreshed and heavily caffeinated, you go back to work at the big computer. You hit escape, which seems to minimize the action window thingy, and reveals a history of all the commands you've entered. So it's the Wayward Vagabond delivering commands to John. And John can accept them even if he can't understand them, or where they're coming from. You use the arrow key to scroll up a bit. You can't believe how much you've already typed into this stupid contraption. What a waste of time. You scroll all the way up to your first command. Boy. You there. Boy. It looks like there are more commands above it. Maybe someone was entering commands on this thing before you were? There aren't many more. At the top of this list appears to be the very first. Type switch 2. You activate screen 2. The signal is garbled, and you have no idea what you're looking at. Some sort of filthy beggar pleading for help? No one is around, and nothing is happening. You seem to be locked out of any sort of interactions with whatever's happening on this monitor. Switch 3. It's another one of those little rapscallions. This monitor is locked too. You can't tell him what to do. Not that you really want to, since it just seems like more confusing nonsense to you. You consider switching to screen 4, but decide against it. You have a feeling that whatever's there would just confuse you more, even more, and you don't even really care all that much anyway. All 4 screens activate. Together, they display a countdown, starting at 4 hours and 13 minutes. Type reboot. You can't. Nothing's working anymore. The timer seems to have disabled the keyboard. Wayward Vagabond, become the mayor. Enough of this nonsense. You're an important mayor, and this absurd contraption has wasted enough of your time. You've got a city to govern with a carapaced fist, which is to say firm yet polished, supple as the situation demands. Anyway, this will help you kill some time while you wait for that clock to count down. Wayward Vagabond, create employment opportunities for the citizen cans. You temporarily dismantle City Hall to free up all the can power available to create a vigilant town militia. You divide them into 2 groups, marking them with distinct teams and ranks using the pieces of white chalk and motor oil. You then organize them in a phalanx across the countryside, preparing for a stiff training regimen. When you're through with them, your forces will be a well-oiled machine. Chalk another one up to bold leadership. You waste more than 4 hours on this tomfoolery. Wayward Vagabond mourned the loss of Citizen Tab. Your caffeinated jittering must have agitated all the little bubbles curiously hidden in the liquid, creating too much pressure in the can. You speculate this is why it exploded as you nervously eye the timer. You're starting to wonder what will happen when it reaches 0. Maybe it would be best not to be near it when this happens. Minutes in the future, though perhaps not as few as implied by circumstances. A peregrine mendicant trundles precarious cargo beneath the gleam of the celestially ominous. Wayward Vagabond, go outside and get some sun. You say a bittersweet goodbye to your beloved city. It's time to move on to greener pastures, by which of course you mean an arid, sandy wasteland upon which nothing green has grown in years. The door shuts behind you. A panel on the door becomes illuminated. As you ponder over the marks on the panel, you hear another mechanical sound overhead. The LCD panel appears to have a touchscreen interface. Curiously prod the funny-looking spirograph. It appears the funny-looking spirograph room is locked. The floor rotates a full 360 degrees beneath you, while the surrounding wall seems to stay put. The triangle-ly fractal room does not appear to be locked, however. The floor turns 120 degrees, and the door opens. You go through the door to find another room. It's the same size as the other one you just wasted all that time in, while a clock was ticking down to something which may or may not be your doom. Maybe there is something in here that will help you escape. Against the wall, there is another perplexing contraption. Against the opposite wall is some sort of control panel which catches your eye. It has 2 large screens, but only one appears to be active. There are fields for numbers, which appear to be modifiable with the dials to the right. Some numbers are already supplied by default, perhaps entered by some previous user. There are a few buttons below, the largest one bearing the symbol marking this room. Also, it looks like there's a meter stick propped up there for some reason. Wayward Vagabond, attach your trusty knife to the meter stick. You immediately craft a measuring spear, through possibly the most advanced form of alchemy employed thus far. This is obviously the most important thing to do first, obviously. It would obviously be the most important thing to do if you had remembered to bring your trusty knife. You feel so insecure without your trusty knife, it makes you want to slit your wrists, or at the very least flog your carapace with some sort of measuring apparatus. Look at the Wayward Vagabond. Look at the other wall. You examine the perplexing contraption across the room. You of course have no idea what it could possibly do. You adopt the only obvious course of action, which is to poke and prod it with your handy ruler. You're quite sure this is what science is all about. Wayward Vagabond, press the triangle pattern. You go back to the control panel, which is obviously controls that gizmo, and you push the big blue button, which is probably the most obvious thing to push. You purify a pumpkin. Wayward Vagabond, examine pumpkin. It seems this mysterious gourd was transported, purified, from a specific time and location somewhere on this planet you are on. You wonder if the machine, the purifier, will take any object that exists at whatever time and location you supply. There is a symbol carved on the pumpkin. You don't know what it means, and you doubt it will ever prove to be relevant in any way. Wayward Vagabond, devour pumpkin. You consider dining on the ripe flesh of the plump vegetable, but your curiosity about the purifier gets the better of you. You sneak a nibble from the pumpkin nonetheless. Wayward Vagabond, inspect green buttons. You first examine the attractive green buttons. The icon for one on the left is that house shape you've seen plenty of times before. The right one, on closer inspection, appears to be the map for this underground facility, with an X marking its center. Wayward Vagabond, press green button on right. You push the button. All of the numbers change. Perhaps these are coordinates for the location at the center of this facility, along with the local date and time. If this is the case, it would make a useful reference point for your current bearings. Wayward Vagabond, fiddle with the dials. One way to find out would be to attempt to purify something from this facility. It should be easy to zero in on a location relative to the center because you have an uncanny knack for tracking precise distances you have already traversed, in whatever units you choose to use. Your handy ruler gives a good clue at the basic unit of human measurement. You will use that. Wayward Vagabond, purify your trusty knife. You nudge the coordinates very slightly and bump up the elevation by 0.5 human measurement units. HMUs for short. You make sure to keep the time approximate with what it was to begin with. You purify your trusty knife. Wayward Vagabond, a purified can town. You nudge the numbers a bit more and purify a bunch of cans. This is so much more efficient than walking back to the other room to get them. You are to believe that that time is at a premium, after all. Wayward Vagabond, de-purified the pumpkin. Does this machine look like a de-purifier to you? Honestly, the idea that a purifier could both purify and de-purify things is so laughably ridiculous. You would wish someone would de-purify your brain and re-purify it with a brain that is more smart and less stupid. Wayward Vagabond, use trusty knife to carve spook schema into pumpkin. What the hell are you talking about? That idea makes no sense at all and is basically meaningless. Try using that mushy stuff in your gourd next time. Instead, you just carve off the top and expose a decadent cache of gorgeous seed-laden ambrosia. Needless to say, you consume it all rather quickly, but it turns out to be way too gross for us to watch. Wayward Vagabond, move spirograph switch. You cannot move it. It has a spirograph-shaped indentation. Oh, Jesus Christ. And possibly will require a special kind of key to turn it. I was just looking at the goop coming off of his rags. Wayward Vagabond, purify firefly out of the amber. Not a problem. You release your blinky new friend. You will give her a name when something suitably whimsical occurs to you. Wayward Vagabond, adjust time dial to purify rotten pumpkin. The past. You and Serenity consider new ways to waste more time with the purifier. You are assuming she is a girl firefly, even though you are not really sure that fireflies can even be girls. You target the extremely tasty rotten pumpkin that was sitting in the other room hours ago. It seems the purifier cannot purify something if it will create a time paradox. A gelatinous ghost pumpkin purifies and quickly dissolves into a pile of unappetizing genetic sludge. Wayward Vagabond, purify the grate over the entrance to the facility. Ooh, if I recall correctly, we have access to... We should have access to a Morse code reader here. Jesus Christ. The baby is you. Controversial content, no. New reader mode? No thanks. Darn. How to navigate the collection? Saving and loading your game, searching. No. I could have sworn there are extra tools. Well, I'll go looking for the Morse code tools and come back next time. Thank you so much for joining me.